And we find a very beautiful chapter at the end of the book of Genesis where we have the blessings, the famous blessings that the patriarch Jacob gave over to all of the tribes. And these blessings are extremely poetic and esoteric, and they contain all sorts of secrets. They're difficult to understand. But there's another problem, really, that we have in understanding the nature of these blessings, because in Genesis 49, actually what happened is, if we examine the verses, Jacob says to his children, "Gather together and listen, sons of Jacob, and hear, Israel your father." And then he begins the blessings. But the verse before that, we are told in 49:1, Jacob called to his children and said to them, "Gather together, and I will tell you that which will befall you in the end of days." And then he goes and says, "Gather together and listen to your father Israel." And then he begins, "Reuven, you are my firstborn." He begins all of the blessings. But apparently, what he had in mind at first was something else altogether. And we have a unique tradition, in fact, that Jacob was on the threshold of a very profound prophetic revelation. And Jacob, Israel, was about to reveal to all of his children all of the stages of history and the entire future as it was to unravel, and everything that was going to befall them and all of their children until the end of time, until the time of the complete and ultimate redemption. Everything that would happen until the Messiah would arrive. But then everything changes, and suddenly we find that this is not at all what he told them. He didn't give them any sort of end of days scenario. Instead, he gives them these very unique and very beautiful individual blessings. So we actually have a tradition that the spirit of prophecy, as it were, the presence of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, departed from him. And he made this last-minute change in plans, and rather than giving over the revelation of everything that was going to transpire them until the end of time, instead he decided to bless them. He was about to say it, but then he lost it. It was taken away from him. And the curtain, as it were, closed. The divine presence departed from him. In fact, there's a very interesting idea that this scenario behind the scenes was the origin of the beautiful verse in Deuteronomy 6, "Hear, O Israel." As we are taught that Jacob was, this is all between the lines and part of the beautiful oral tradition, that Jacob was afraid that perhaps something was wrong here, and that maybe some of his children were not on the same page with him as far as their devotion, as far as their unique attachment and belief in God, and maybe that's why God took the inspiration away from him. He was suspecting that maybe there was something here that was, they weren't deserving of it, and they knew that that was a concern of his, and so they told him, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is, the Lord is one." In other words, the same Hashem, the same God that you believe in, we believe in him too. And that's neither here nor there. It's a beautiful side point. But what happened here? That's really the issue that concerns us. And there are different ways of looking at this scenario, that the divine presence departed from him, the spirit of prophecy departed, and he lost his train of thought, what it was that he wanted to say. Obviously, God felt that it was not fair or not fitting or proper for this information to be revealed. And on one level, we can understand that there are some things that we really can't know and we really shouldn't know, because we need the human element, you could call it the element of surprise, or the element of our own input to be able to change history ourselves. There are some things that we are better off just being able to deal with as they come. We can't really know everything. But on a deeper level, we can also speculate that Jacob himself realized, even though he knew everything that would befall his children, he realized that there are certain things that he can't tell them. There are certain things that have to happen, that have to befall them, and perhaps it brought him pain. Perhaps it's a difficult thing for a parent to know that a child has to go through some difficult times, and we have to watch, as it were, from the wings and not get involved and not interfere, and we have to suffer that pain. But sometimes a parent realizes that our children have to go through what they have to go through because they have to have their relationship with God, and they have to go through everything that will befall them to make them into the people that they have to become. It's all part of God's great plan for all of humanity. And sometimes the role of the parents, even with prophetic enlightenment, is to step back and be there for them as much as possible, but to realize there's only so much I can do. You have to go through the things that you will have to go through, and all of us together have to take our part and play the role that we have to play for the ultimate redemption of all mankind.